Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we're going to talk getting started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and we are talking Ogor Mawtribes today, and today we're going to be focusing on the Bloodgullet subfactions from the Ogor Mawtribes. Now the Bloodgullet subfaction we'll get talking about in just a second. We'll go through what is about to be an Ogor Mawtribes army briefly, and talk about the bonuses we get for being a Bloodgullet subfaction Ogor Mawtribes army. We'll then go look at some units we can pick up to start our Bloodgullet army, and then look at units we can expand upon those initial purchases to then further build our army up towards 1,000 points or more. Finally, we will finish off the video giving you a little sample 1,000 point army list that you can use to either copy or get you some ideas to make your own Bloodgullets list. So, for starters, what exactly do we get with a Bloodgullets army? And well, we are an Ogor Mawtribes army to begin with, so this means we're going to get things like Ogre Charge, where we do mortal wounds on the charge. We're going to get the ability to be either hungry or eating, meaning if we're in combat we get extra bravery, and if we're not in combat we get extra movement. We have the ability as well to count as extra models on objectives, which is really cool. Now, on top of that, we get the Bloodgullet subfaction, and this subfaction is primarily focused around getting wizards extra spells, and Butcher keywords Bloodgullets wizards get spells. Now, you may think first, oh, well, does this mean only the Butcher? No, it is in keyword bold, so this means all the models with that keyword, so this includes the Slaughtermaster as well. Both those units will get the benefits of the extra spell that they will be able to cast, and the extra spell they'll be able to take out of the lore from which their butchers can take their spells. On top of that, we'll get some extra combat abilities for Ogre Gluttons in the form of a command ability that allows us to give them rerolls to wound, which is really nice. And then we've also got a command trait that is going to give us extra movement in the pile-in moves. Now, this doesn't mean we can pile in from 6 inch. It doesn't give us the ability to pile in outside of 3, but it does give us an extra 3 inch of movement. This can be particularly good on like any heroes you want to get into your enemy. So big nasty heroes that potentially get bogged down with chaff can try and move around and get those 2 or 3 inch reach weapons over the top into a hero sticking behind. Lastly, we're going to get an artifact called the Splatter Cleaver, which is an artifact we get thanks to being Bloodgullet, and we must take it and give it to the first hero that can. And it gets to pick one of the bearer's melee weapon, and at the end of the combat phase, if any wounds inflicted by this weapon in the phase were allocated to an enemy model, you can heal D3 wounds allocated to each Bloodgullet unit, that's ogres, within 12 inch. So, some pretty nice basic stuff there. This is all a pretty simple sort of subfaction really, and if you're starting ogres and really wanting to get into the Gutbuster side, I think this is a perfect place to really start your force off. Get a Bloodgullet army, pick up a Butcher, get an extra spell, and we'll talk about that in just a second on what to get first. And like I just said, pick up a Butcher for your first one. Now this could be a Slaughtermaster. I think you can do this either way. Butchers are slightly cheaper, and the model is cheaper than the Slaughtermaster option. So that's probably why it just edges this over for me. That, and I really love the Voracious Maw spell. This is just a super fun spell. You do D3 mortal wounds to an enemy unit, and then you roll a dice, and on a 4+ you get to do another D3 mortal wounds. And you continue rolling these 4-ups until you fail to roll a 4-up. You'll keep doing mortal wounds to your opponent. I've had this go against me where it took my Black Dragon last time I played at SAGT with my Black Dragon, took my Black Dragon from 4 wounds down to none, as it just rolled hot and kept steamrolling those mortal wounds on me. I think it got something like 15 times in a row, and eventually just whittled me down even with my ward save. It was pretty cool. But we also have the Blood Gruel ability as well on Butchers, where we roll a dice each time this model successfully casts or unbinds a spell. After the effects, on a 2+ you can heal a wound, however on a 1 you do suffer a wound. So it's got some cool little abilities there, you know, potentially hurts itself, but that's destruction in a nutshell, a little bit of risk and reward. For me, you've got the options of 2 different weapons. You've got the Tenderizer or the Cleaver. I think in the current state of the game, the extra rend is by far better. Doing 2 damage at rend 2 is better than doing 3 damage at rend 1 at the moment, I would say. Now, alongside them, you reckon you pick up some Ogre Gluttons, as they are the only units that benefit from the command ability we've got from Bloodgullet. So, Ogre Gluttons, they're pretty stock standard sort of troops for ogres. 4 wounds, movement 6, though 8 when they're not within combat. So, ogres, it's always worth remembering there's that extra 2 inch of movement from being hungry. A 5-up save is nice. And then you've got your clubs and blades, and you've got 3 attacks at 3/3s, no rend damage too. Now, you can choose to either have an additional club and blade, which will give you exploding 6 to hit, meaning every time you roll a 6 to hit, you'll get 2 hits instead of 1. Or you can choose to have an Iron Fist, where you bounce back damage to your opponent when you roll successful rolls of a 6 on your saves. For For me, I just think the offense is all you need. You've got a 5-up save there with the ability to get some extra attacks through, and also 4 wounds apiece. I think it's just the better option to go for the paired clubs or blades. Now, on top of that, you've also got some other cool abilities. Your Bellower subtracts 1 from the enemy's bravery. You add 1 to your bravery from the tribal banner bearer, or you can have the Beast Skull banner, which is reroll charge rolls. So I do think the rerollable charge rolls is probably a little bit better, just because you're really wanting to make sure you make those charges to get those mortal wounds. Ogres are always going to want to be doing the mortal wounds. Lookout Nobbler is nice to give you a mortal wound save, to give you a ward save against missile weapons on a 6+. So a nice little other addition as well. But where do we go next after these initial purchases? Well, for starters, you're playing Bloodgullet, and like I said, the only command ability and unit that command ability affects that you have access to is Gluttons. Gluttons get a whole bunch of benefit being in Bloodgullet, so I would definitely go grab another unit of Gluttons, get your 2 battle line units, 12 Gluttons on the table. That's a ton of meat for your opponent to have to try and chew through. Really solid battle line option. And then I'd either pick up the Slaughtermaster or the Butcher, whichever one you didn't start with. But let's talk about the Slaughtermaster here. So the Slaughtermaster is fairly similar to the Butcher. He's a 1-cast, although in Bloodgullet he'll be a 2-cast wizard, which is really nice. But his big thing is he's got a Great Cauldron instead. So it costs 5 extra points, and he gives up really that more offensive combat attack for the Great Cauldron ability. So you can roll a dice with this model to say sort of picking up the pot. Now on a 1, he gets some bad meat and he suffers D3 mortal wounds himself. On a 2, he's Troll Guts and he heals D3 wounds allocated to this model. In addition, heal 1 wound to each friendly ogre unit wholly within 12. Or Spine Marrow on a 3 to 4, add 1 to your hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by a friendly ogre unit that was within 12 inch. On a 5 or 6, you will get to roll a dice for each enemy unit within 6 inch of this model. On a 4+, they suffer D3 mortals. So some cool little abilities. The 3 and 4 with the Spine Marrow is really what you're always wanting, the +1 to hit. Though the mortal wounds on Bone Crusher can certainly come in handy, as can the healing on Troggoth Guts on the 2. Now, you've got Rock Chomper instead of the other spell, the Voracious Maw. Now, Rock Chomper is pick a friendly unit of Ogre Gluttons within 18 inch, so once again, we're just getting more out of Gluttons here. Until the start of your next phase, if your modified wound roll for an attack with a Gulping Bite is a 6, you inflict a mortal wound in addition. So you can really sort of start to stack up the attacks on those Gluttons here. Other than that, I think a Frostlord on Stonehorn is actually a great addition to this army. You don't really have any major hammers that are going to be able to sort of fight in protracted combats, and for that reason I recommend the Stonehorn. The command trait for Bloodgullet with the extra 3-inch piling is actually really good on big monsters, allowing your Stonehorn to get that maneuver ability to move around and allowing your Ogre to sort of attack over the top with his Frost Spear is pretty nice. Lastly, Nobblers. Nobblers just provide you with some cheap, great chaff, as you're probably going to want to have one of your Butchers or the Slaughtermaster near your Cauldron. Having a unit of Nobblers there as a nice little bit of protection is always nice. They provide great chaff, stop you being able to be charged, and can really allow you to dictate how the game can go, because you'll be able to get the charges, allowing your Nobblers to soak up a charge, die, whatever, but your Gluttons and your other Ogres are going to be able to get the charge thanks to the sacrifice of the Nobblers using them as screens. And so here we have a little sample army list for you all of the Bloodgullet Mawtribe. We've gone for hold the line because 12 Ogre Gluttons is a decent amount of meat to have to try and get through for your opponent. So we think there'll be a decent enough little grand strategy to try and go for your Ogres. And so to start off with, we've got our leader, Slaughtermaster. He's going to be our general. He's going to have the command trait Nice Drop of the red stuff. This is the one where we're going to be able to have extra piling. He's probably going to be the one that moves up with our Gluttons while our Butcher stays back. Now, he's got that ability to try and get +1 to hit. That's also why we're going up there. And we've gone for giving him the spells Blood Feast and Rib Cracker. Blood Feast will add 1 to the attacks characteristic of a friendly Ogre unit that's not a monster. And then Rib Cracker will subtract 1 from save rolls for an enemy unit. A really, really useful spell, and probably the most useful one in the current state of the meta. Our Butcher will have Rib Cracker as well, which is the minus to armor save. It's just a great spell to have, and it's good to have it in multiple places for the utility of it. You're probably going to be casting like Voracious Maw out of this model more often than not, thanks to him being a little bit further back. Now, he's also gone for Greasy Deluge, which is subtract 1 from hit rolls for an enemy unit, so pretty nice. We've then got our 2 units of Ogre Gluttons, both with pairs of clubs or blades. Like I said, I just prefer these. I think they're the superior weapon option. And 2 units of 20 Nobblers for some great screens just sitting out in front of our Ogres, allowing them to soak up the charge if they need to, or jumping out the way if needs be. There are some really cool abilities you can use. These Nobblers are just going to allow us to dictate where the charges come and go, and allow us to not be alpha striked as bad by our opponent. If they're trying to drop in some combat units and destroy us early, we're hopefully going to be able to survive the charge and just sacrifice Nobblers. The army is in a battle regiment and is 25 points under 1,000, so this does mean there's a chance we might get that grand strategy and that triumph for Bloodthirsty, which is rerollable charges. And then 102 wounds at this points value is just a lot of wounds. There is a lot of wounds on the table your opponent's going to have to try and deal with this army, and it's all nicely wrapped up in a 1-drop. Well, that's it for the video. We hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little fine community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the video's description to our Discord server. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel more, you can do so by following the links to either our Patreon or YouTube members down in the description of the video. It goes a massive way to helping the channel continue to produce the content that it does. We'd like to give a special shout out to all our patrons and YouTube members, so a special thank you to our Patreons: Christian Weir, James Soren, Greenskins Gaming, AJC, Kenny Lowell, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Anton Nilsson, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, and Samuel. And a shout out to our YouTube members: Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Chris Wallace, Ronya, Vinny, Lochloric, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Revenar, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Sean Scott, and Ariana Edwards. Finally, a last special shout out to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel that you see pictured here, and to Xmorphic, who does all the amazing background work on our Discord server for us. Thank you both, you do amazing work. That's it though. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Once again, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.